Our next guest, who is standing by here at Rangai in Turanganui, Kiwa, to talk about valuing and rewarding native forest regeneration, regional cooperation to kickstart new markets. We welcome from Ngāti Porou and Toha, Renee Raroa. Kei a koe, Renee.
Is this me here? Cool. Kia ora koutou. Wow, seeing myself here in the studio. Firstly, just thank you to everyone who's listening today. Really stoked at the engagement we've had, and stoked to be here for the convo as well. So, ko waiaho, ko hekurangi te maunga, ko waiapu te awa, ko Ngāti Porou te iwi, ko ohene waiapu tōku marae, no rangitukia aho. And yeah, I guess our whakapapa, where we're from, these things bring us together, and obviously this kaupapa is something that really brings us together as well. So I guess some of the kōrero that I wanted to discuss is this idea of how we might kickstart new markets, how we might use our regional cooperation to do that. Because we obviously have a lot of interest in forming these new markets. We've got all of the pieces here, so we should be able to get some things going. My mahi is in an environmental impact tech startup, which is called Toha, which you just heard about before. And what we're doing there is building a platform to facilitate this massive cooperation, so to incorporate a whole lot of the whakaaro and the ideas and projects and other tools and platforms that we've already discussed. So in our regional context, I guess it's about how will we use something like this to effectively and efficiently bring all of our various skill sets together, what resources have we got already, and how might we design better solutions for us so that we can make things work for each other and our planet, first and foremost. So, you know, in this region, like many regions, we've got some amazing projects already going on. We've heard about a lot of them today. I won't even start to name them because there's so much awesome stuff. But I guess one of the things that we don't have is a financial system that really values these products or these projects. So what our financial system currently does is it values products and services and kind of at an individual level. So how do we make the true value of all of this replanting, recloaking, regenerating our whenua, how do we bring out the value in that and help that to be visible to our markets? And who's going to pay for that if we do make that visible? So what we're building at Toha is a market engine, you know, to unlock the climate finance that's sitting there. So we can talk about some of the funding that we've got, you know, via government schemes, there's investment funding, but there's also, we know, a whole lot of impact finance sitting up in the capital markets that just can't see the front line. So to enable that to reach our projects and reach the front line, what we're missing is the infrastructure. So this is some of the stuff that we're working on building. The ultimate goal there is to regenerate the planet by unlocking this and by helping them to see the projects on the front line. What we need to do is to ensure that the data's there that really proves that these things are happening. And you know, some of the other conversations we've talked about our carbon markets and alternative markets and the way data is captured there. But what if we could work together as a region and as countries and beyond to rebuild these in the way that they really work for us? Because we've heard about a lot of the brokenness. So one of the ways that we're looking to do this is through an asset called a pledge. I'm kind of rolling through this convo relatively quickly today because I know we've been like pushed for time, but I'm going to jump into kind of one of the key assets here that Toha's building. So what we've got in a pledge is this idea. It's a commitment to take action, and then it's the data that proves that that action has been taken. And what you'd get from that is you've got this promise, this pledge asset. And with this pledge, you're collecting the data that proves an action has been taken, that proves that you're creating an environmental impact which has been scientifically backed and that data is verifiable. So from that pledge, we can pull out data that people actually want to pay for and purchase. So who's buying this data that would prove the actions that are happening on some piece of land out in the back blocks of Rangitukia? Well, it turns out a whole lot of people are interested in the data that proves impact. You've got from you've got claims purchasers such as banks wanting to show that the data that the debt, I guess, that they're holding can be attributed to data that proves that that debt is green. Product supply chains, more and more there's these customers, clientele that are demanding that their product has come from somewhere that's actually doing awesome stuff. Scientists may want to see those data sets. And the important bit, I guess, here to note is that the data, it isn't being sold, but just the reuse of it is able to be purchased. So we can still maintain that data sovereignty that we really need. Okay, that doesn't seem that dissimilar to other types of markets that we've talked about, but what it does, it allows that asset, that proof, that project to now be an investable thing. So because you've got new income streams coming in to that project via the purchase of the reuse of data, on the other side, that turns it into a mechanism where you can invest in and get returns, which is pretty exciting. We know that this current situation, we've got carbon, incentivizing some of our permanent exotics and other things like that we've talked about today, which, it's a step in the right direction, but obviously there's some broken bits there. We've got some funding avenues, which is cool, recognizing that there's value in our native forests, but a lot of this is like at local or national government level, so we know to pick that up. We've got our regional and Indigenous knowledge systems. So we have the knowledge, we have the land in many cases, we've got the people to do it. So what's the proposed future? Well, it's that there's more than just carbon is valued, and Sean from ECOS was talking about how they're facilitating that. It's that our funding avenues and impact investment opportunities can really see these things as returning an investment if they need to, and that our regional Indigenous knowledge systems and kind of the more holistic view that we need can start to be valued in a way that we just currently don't value it. So out of context, it's all a little bit kind of up in the air. But what we do have here regionally is a couple of projects that we're started to work on that are testing out this model and doing these things. So one of those projects, shout out to Henry, is Kotare Station. Out at Kotare, they're replanting, they've got stock exclusion going on, pest control happening, and they're able to start to see the data that they're collecting and putting into like the trusted network via Toha. They're starting to see how that can be turned into claims assets and get some purchases in for that data. And then that's going to mean that on the other side of it, that the investment can start to flow in because you're seeing new revenue streams starting to return some money that in a way that it didn't exist before. Now, and this is a project that's super dear to my heart, Te Koutuku Station, because the previous one I mentioned, Kotari Station, amazing things, privately owned farmland, but I know many of us here are interested in, with our different governance structures and things like that, how does something like this work for Māori land blocks? Well, we're testing it out with one of our first projects at Te Koutuku Station. Kia ora, Rangi, Dad, out there somewhere listening in perhaps. What these guys are doing is looking at how the land there can just be naturally reverted, but what data and information and value we can get from that to build a claims market for that type of thing as well. So, for our Indigenous land management practices and returning to some of these, this is what the world's asking for in terms of regeneration. So there's the potential to unlock a whole lot of global claims in this space where people are looking to invest in the return of our Indigenous land management ways. Yep, there's also the premium carbon offsets, and would be looking to kind of partner with all those pieces to pull this in together. We might also look at things like, hey, our GDC, do you need compliance reports rather than sending people out on the ground? How might this infrastructure enable the data flows to happen a lot more efficiently and effectively? So a couple of initial projects going on as a region. Toha itself is already up and operating nationally. One of the first projects we've gone into is the transition, well, it's a big kaupapa, the biggest perhaps for New Zealand, the transition of dairy farms into regenerative dairy agriculture, and the model is proving to work in that space. So the opportunity though here for our region, I think, is to look at how we might use platforms like this and others to really capture our collaboration, our potential. One of my dreams would be that we're able to use platforms like this to help bring new revenue streams into projects. Yes, recloaking the whenua for our region definitely is the thing. There's heaps of opportunities though to use this same kind of infrastructure to do things like marine environment cleanups, regenerative agriculture, regenerative forestry even. I guess the question is, are we up for thinking differently about this? Where do we start? Do we want to work together in a way that enables us all to see the benefits, and for those benefits to actually get to the front line of things? So I've kind of raced through that, but this is just the beginning of our conversations together. I guess I wanted to also put this, one of my favourite whakatauki in here, kia whakatoa muri te haere whakamua. I walk backwards into the future with my eyes fixed on the past. Hearing all of the kōrero today just makes me super hopeful that us as a region and other regions as well can figure out how to collaborate in a way that serves us all. We've got the technology being built, we've got tools out there, we've got all the pieces of that puzzle. So yeah, the question is where to from here. It's been awesome to be able to help organise an event like this today where we get so many people in, so many thoughts together, but it can't stop here. Like, what are we going to do to create some action? The first part is underway, where we've got the convo rolling, but yeah, how should we play it from here on? Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you very much, Renee. I walk backwards into the future with my eyes fixed on my past. Kia whakatoa muri te haere whakamua. And just like that, Renee has disappeared, and here I am back with my whenua. as we continue our kōrero recloaking the whenua. And I just want to say a big thank you to Renee, who's been keeping me company here at Rāngai, here in Tūranganui a Kiwa as well. Tēnā rawa te koe, Renee.